All right, what's up, guys? We're back with MMA Tanner Stone.
Welcome back, Kicking Ass with Tanner.
Welcome
to Kicking Ass with Tanner Stones.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
And welcome back to the podcast, guys. Wow. 100 episodes of the Kicking Ass with Tanner Stone podcast. Thank you all so much for listening, tuning in. It's been such a journey. And this episode, I wanted to talk about the whole journey, talk about my life, the podcast, the people who helped me get to where I am right now, because so much has happened since I started this podcast. I mean, let's look back at episode 1. Let me look at it. We'll pop it on the screen. All right, so I'm excited to get started. Episode 1 of the Kicking Ass with Tanner Stone podcast wasn't actually Kicking Ass with Tanner Stone. It was actually MMA with Tanner Stone. We started out MMA with Tanner Stone because I did it with my two friends, Zach Rugi and Xander Plotkin, and we spoke about MMA, martial arts, UFC, and we spoke about that so much until we couldn't really anymore. And then my dad came up with the idea, what about kicking ass? You could talk about fighting. You could talk about motivation. You could talk about all these other things that you couldn't talk about when you just had MMA. So that's kind of how we switched it. And it's just crazy how far we came. When I started the podcast, I was 210 to 215 pounds, and I was fat. I was out of shape. I was unhappy. I didn't have any direction in life. When I started, I wanted just to manage the podcast. I was just going to have Zach and Xander on it, and I was just going to be behind the scenes, making sure everything's smoothly, which makes no sense. And then I told myself, I'm like, who are you, Tanner? I mean, you have no confidence. You're overweight. You're not happy. I need change. I need something to snap me back into shape. So I started doing kickboxing. Well, the whole story was I got pretty hurt from my very first breakup, and I wanted to find something that can make me love myself again, make me feel fulfilled. So I picked up kickboxing, and I used to do that every day after school. I would bike there. I would bike to Brazilian Top Team every day after school and work with this trainer named Matt. He would teach me. I was really bad. And then I picked up jiu-jitsu, and I did both of those things for a year and a half to 2 years, up until I just started lifting weights as well. And then I started doing track, and I started to try to get my body back into shape. And back then I was really skinny, and then I wanted to gain weight. So I drank a bunch of protein shakes, gained like 5 pounds a week. It's crazy, but I used to never be able to gain weight. And then I gained too much weight. And then that's where I was. And then I was training at this place, Elite Force Martial Arts. I was training there for a while. My life was just fighting. I loved MMA. I loved the art of the respect. I loved the discipline. I loved everything about it. I loved the culture, the people you meet when you spar, how it's like a connection with you and your opponent. And that summer, going into that summer, it was like 2023, I met a girl. And this girl kind of was my wake-up call. I mean, I met her and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I didn't like who I was. I didn't like being the fat Tanner that I see every night before I go to bed. I didn't like eating unhealthy. I didn't like feeling like I didn't love myself. I didn't respect myself. So I ended up looking up the fastest way to lose weight. Can you believe that? The fastest way to lose weight. And it ended up being what I was doing. It was Muay Thai. So I looked up the best Muay Thai gym in the world. And then I It was Tiger Muay Thai in Thailand. I went up to my parents. I was like, Mom, Dad, I know this is a long shot, but how cool would it be if I could go to Thailand and train at the best gym in the world? They thought I was joking at first. They were like, what? And as I kept asking, like for months, they started to look at the idea for me and my brother, my brother with autism, to come as well. And they started to find things to do around. So they were on board. The plan was I was going to go there, stay in a place by myself while they traveled around Thailand. I went to Phuket, stayed at Tiger Muay Thai, stayed on Fitness Street. I got all my gear, stayed in like a little place on Fitness Street, and yeah. And my parents helped me move in. I was 17 years old, and it was huge. I traveled across the whole world to accomplish something that I didn't even know if I was capable of accomplishing. And after, so 3 days go by where I'm in Thailand, and my parents end up traveling somewhere. They leave, they help me move in and everything. I'm starting to get in a routine. It is the hardest training I've ever done. I'm getting hit in the stomach. I am sparring. I'm doing nonstop cardio for 2 hours. I am dieting. I'm trying so hard to accomplish this goal that I had in my mind. And I got sick because I overworked myself. You're supposed to ease your way into it, and I just went crazy. And I got a fever, I had a sore throat. I was really sick. I called my dad. I said, Dad, I don't want to be here. I really want to leave. I can't stand it anymore. I want to go home. I want to go home. And my dad's like, you're not going home. He goes, if I come and save you, if I come and pick you up and take you back to Boca, what will that teach you? That you could just complain and get your way out of something? That when you're uncomfortable and you're in a situation where you can grow, you just turn around and hide? That phone call changed my whole life. When he made me sit through that sickness and sit through this feeling of depression and loneliness that I felt in Thailand, across the world, from all my comfort, all my friends, my family wasn't even with me. It was scary. But as days went by, I started to get better. I took advantage of that situation. Instead of hiding, instead of thinking about all these negatives that I'm missing out in Florida, I'm missing out on all these things, and I'm not with my family, I'm not with the people that I have comfort with, then I have to find comfortable in the uncomfortable. So I met a friend named Alex, and we were going to training together. We started to go out to eat together in Thailand. I started to find fun things to do in Thailand. And the time started flying by. And towards the end of the trip, I ended up losing like 20 to 30 pounds. I ended up going from 210 pounds to 185, 186 pounds. It was crazy. And I come back to Florida a whole new person. I was staying in contact with the girl that I met. We were talking the whole entire time I was in Thailand. I come back, I feel confident. I feel like I love myself again. And then we end up being together for a while. And I come back, and when I came back, I was like, I want to do a fight. I accomplished so much in Thailand that my biggest fear was to get in a fight with someone. And I wanted to accomplish my biggest fear. I wanted to take on what I was most afraid of. So I scheduled a fight. September 30th, that was my big day. And when I came back in town, things were different. I mean, I wasn't the same person that I was when I left. My friends were different. I started drifting from the people that I was close with before my experience. And I started to fall in a lonelier path because I was maturing while all my friends were kind of staying the same. Fast forwarding to my fight, I was training every single day. I was still dieting. Shout out to Luis Squash and Elite Force Martial Arts for helping me train. we trained every single day. We were doing push-ups, sprints, sparring, bag work, pad work, everything. And I ended up, my fight weight was 180. So I had to drop down, and I ended up dropping down to 179.6 pounds or something. And I weighed in and I looked pretty good. I mean, I was back to feeling happy with myself again. I did my fight. It was so scary. I mean, when I got in that ring, it was the scariest moment of my life. I was in an area with someone who wanted to kill me, and I wanted to kill them. And it's crazy. I ended up winning, which was very good. And I still am in contact with that person, Cooper Taylor. Shout out Cooper. I couldn't have asked for a better opponent for my first fight. I mean, you're a friend, you're like a brother. You're a great person, man. And this all leads back to kicking ass with Tanner Stone, because this is my story. I'm not even done yet, but I want people to kick ass in life like I did. The reason I started this podcast was because I went through all these struggles, all these crazy stories that I wouldn't have went through if it wasn't for my dad making me sit through the uncomfortable, me taking on my biggest fear, doing a professional or amateur fight. It was just all these factors lead into kicking ass in life. After my fight, I told myself my next goal was to get down to 170 pounds. And while I was dieting, while I was on that goal, I started to look at myself. I'm like, damn, I can model. So I started to look at modeling agencies, and shout out Gary Bailey, my mom's family friend, which it's a funny story. I'm not going to say the whole story, but our family friend, he hooked me up with an agency called Stellar Talent Agency. Thank you, Cindy, Britt, and Barbara. You guys have been amazing at Stellar. I worked jobs like Ron John, Deja Vu. I worked probably like 12 jobs in the past year or two, which is really good so far. I worked with them, and shout out Scott Teitler. I went to a photographer. I started to take photos and stuff like that. And while I was on this journey of getting cut, modeling made me feel like I had purpose to keep losing weight and looking better and feeling better. So I started to go on runs. I started to wake up early and go on beach runs. Like, can you believe that? It's crazy. So fast forwarding to summer before I left for college, I had options to go to colleges. I could have stayed in Boca with my family, with my friends, but from that Thailand experience, I wanted to see what was out in the world. I wanted to go far away, but not too far where I can't come back. So I ended up going to University of Tampa. My first year of college, I liked it, but at the same time, it was different. It was kind of rough, because my first semester I came home a lot. Every weekend I was coming home, and even though me and my girlfriend at the time were both in Tampa, both in the same area, it didn't work out. I mean, my best goes out to her. She's a great person, but we just weren't great together. So going through a breakup and being alone in Tampa, I wanted to come back to my comfort a lot. So I ended up coming back to Boca with my family and friends. Were at all the first semester while I was staying in shape, while I was staying cut, while I was going on runs every day. Health is wealth. Like, if you're healthy on the inside, you're healthy on the outside. I mean, you smile more, you're a much happier person. And I'm telling you, your life doesn't start until you're at 10 to 12 body fat percentage if you're a male. Like, that's where you see you're the most happy, and I feel like that's where you see the most potential in yourself, if that makes sense. I know that was a little off topic, but that's where I became happy. Going to all right, towards the end of my first semester at Tampa, I told myself I'm not going to come home that often. I'm going to stay in Tampa and I'm going to really focus on school and making friends. So I ended up making these two friends, Sabir and Aiden. We played basketball a lot together. It was awesome. It was a great friendship. I mean, we went to the beach a lot in Tampa. It was nice. We went out, and I started to notice myself get comfortable. I mean, when I get to a certain point, I need change. I need something in my life to help me push myself more. So I was talking to my mom. I was like, Mom, I want to push myself. I need something to help me grow. And then I realized that I want to pursue modeling. I want to take that to the next level. So as I was looking for photographers and stuff, I had the idea. I'm like, why don't I just call Gary again? This is like a year and a half, 2 years later. And I called Gary. Gary Gary explained to me about all these different paths of modeling I could go. He said the best thing for me is Asia and Japan. He said that's where models go and start and build their book, or Korea and Asia, so they could come to the bigger markets like New York, Milan, Paris. That's what he said. So he ended up setting me up with two more photographers. David Vance, amazing photographer. I love him. He had great editorial photos. He snapped me in a way that looked artistic, like I was a bodybuilding statue, but at the same time I was super lean and cut. I mean, he's just I love the way he photographs models. It's very cool. And then I then shot with Ron Reagan, who is another amazing photographer. We traveled all around Miami. He got me one of my best photos. They both got me my best photos. And Scott, you're amazing too. Um, and after I had those photos, Gary started to pick them out and build me my book, because now my focus is like modeling, modeling, modeling. Um, and I was just focusing on my health, getting cut, and passing my classes at Tampa. So Gary told me to start submitting, and I told him that I could plan my trip to New York. I could plan to go after I got a certain surgery. I had problem with I had hemorrhoidectomy surgery because I had like a problem with my gut health. So I had that. It put me out for like 2 to 3 weeks, and then now comes mid-May, and I start submitting those photos to the agencies. I hear back from like four of them, and I'm not looking my best. I got acne on my face. My face is fat because of the medication I was taking. And I ended up going to New York looking like that and visiting the agencies. I ended up visiting two of them. Heard back from four, and two of them changed their mind. And then I ended up visiting with two. And they both weren't fans of me because I wasn't at my best potential. I mean, little did they know I just came from a surgery, which I should have waited longer, probably. That didn't work out. So Gary tried his best. I appreciate everything he's done for me to help me get an agency, and it didn't work out. So I ended up getting a call from Ron Reagan. This is like late May, June. Ron's like, Tanner, are you in an agency yet? And I said, no, I'm not really. And he sent me the email to a bunch of different agencies to call. He's like, email these agencies and tell them that I sent you. So I heard back from a few, and one that stood out was Wembley Management with Steve Wembley. I had a phone call with him. I told him everything I just told you guys, and he seemed like a very genuine, nice person, Steve. And I ended up meeting with him. We our vibes connected really well, and I feel like we could both work really well together. So a few days later, I ended up signing with Steve and doing more digitals with him, maintaining my cut physique. And Steve and I had built a friendship. It's not even that he's just my agent. I feel like I could tell him anything, which is how you and your agent's relationship should be. So later down the line, Steve picked out more photos from Ron, David, and Scott's shoots that I did, and he built my book. And we ended up sending my book out to New York, Korea, Paris, but it was like right towards the end of the season when all the international agencies went on vacation. So we heard back from a few New York agencies, and one guy, Ernest, stood out. He and Steve called, and Ernest had a big interest in me, and it's really important that the agency isn't what's important. It's the agent. If the agent believes in you, if he gets excited and wants you to grow with him, he wants to make you better, that's the person you should be with. So Ernest was very, very excited for me. He really wanted to work with me. And I love that. I mean, I really want someone who wants me too. So I ended up signing with Ernest in New York. I mean, it was a newer agency. It's called Another Level Management. Shout out that agency. Great guy, great agents. And that's where I am now. I'm here in New York. I told myself I wanted to become a model, and I'm doing it. I'm doing what step by step. I don't go to Tampa anymore, but I'm taking online courses to get certain certificates in in things that I want to do, in certain courses that I actually have an interest in, like entrepreneurship, building my brand. That's stuff that I want to learn about. I don't care about art. I don't care about history. I don't care about science. Like that stuff I don't feel like I need. So the moral of all this story, this is the story of Tanner, of how I became who I am right now. Through all these experiences, through all these hardships, modeling, it didn't come easy for me. I left out some stuff, but I heard about probably 100 no's before I heard one yes. Don't give up. I mean, you might see that you're trying so hard to do whatever you're doing. Maybe you're trying for, it doesn't have to be modeling, it could be anything. Don't take no for an answer. No just means that you have to try harder to get a yes. I mean, that sounds fucked up. Like, don't take it like in a weird way, but I told myself I wasn't giving up. I was really going to try hard to find someone who wants me. I mean, all it takes is one person to say yes to change your whole life. That's a quote that I just came up with. Holy shit. But, and now I am on my next journey. I'm at 100 episodes on Kicking Ass with Tanner Stone. I made a big friend group in Florida, which I didn't talk about. Bunch of guys that we're all friends now. It's a great group. I love them. They're making me a better person. Hopefully I'm making them better people. And this is my story. And I'm so happy for the people who have been listening this whole entire time. If you have, then tell me in the comments a goal or a path that you want to start to work on, that you want to accomplish this year. Because earlier this year, I made a list of everything I want to accomplish, and I'm working hard to get that list done. It's tough. This year flew by. It's already September. But yeah, I hope that everyone who's watching, everybody who has interest in my story actually liked it. Or if you didn't, then you should probably be gone by now. But thank you for listening to my podcast. 100 episodes. I've been doing this podcast for about 2 years, and I appreciate every single person who listens and likes and just enjoys watching me and whoever's on this journey with me. So thank you. That's my story. I love you all, and peace.